OK, merveilleux. Donc, before going on, I want to thank um, Samantha that I don't see on the screen, on my screen anymore. Where is, oh yeah, here she
I'm
is.
here.
Yeah, hi Samantha. Samantha Nina Wumunu of the BCRC, who has been helping us tremendously, technically and otherwise. Merci beaucoup, Samantha. Et on tient aussi à reconnaître que nous sommes sur territoire des premiers autochtones non cédés et à renouveler notre solidarité envers nos sœurs et frères des Premières Nations. So we want to acknowledge that we are on unceded territory and renew our ongoing solidarity with our sisters and brothers of the First Nations. Maintenant, je passe la parole à Nigel qui va vous présenter sommairement le projet auquel on participe ce soir. Nigel?
Thank you, Maggie. Bienvenue tout le monde. Welcome, everybody. I'll just give you a brief word on this project. Most of you know what Logos is. The title of our section, well, I should say that we are part of a larger grouping, which is called in abbreviation B.L.A.C.Q, and that means Bridging Language and Culture in Quebec. It's an initiative of the Black Community Research Council, and we are one of Logos, and to this project is joined Kola as well. So Kola and Logos are two of four participating groups in the B.L.A.C.Q project. Notre section s'appelle la création de liens culturels à travers la littérature, building bridges via literature. And the overall objective is for Quebec's Black, Anglophone, and Francophone writers, established and beginning writers, to build bridges to each other and to Quebec's many cultural communities. Pretty much the same objectives as those of Logos readings. Our section of Black, B.L.A.C.Q, comprises 4 events. They are, and I'll give the French translation first, Vaincre l'exil et l'aliénation, justice sociale, expansion et création de liens communautaires, et les communautés noires et les médias. So basically, the 4 themes are community building, overcoming exile and alienation, social justice and the Black community, and Montreal's Black communities and the media. At this point, I take the opportunity to express a few words of thanks, and specifically the government of Quebec and the Secrétariat aux relations avec les Québécois d'expression anglaise. I think when I was asked to put this project together, the late Dr. Horace Goddard, who was the publisher of Kola, its editor as well, was on board, but pretty soon he became ill. So, I thank him for his contribution. I thank Dr. Clarence Bain, who in a very broad sense pushed this project, invited us to take part in the project and pushed it. There's Rhiannon Francis, who worked with us in designing the project. And of course, there's Samantha. Forgive me if I slaughter your name. Samantha Yina Wumuntu, who is here with us tonight and has been taking us through the maze that is Zoom. At least it's a maze for me. Again, I thank you all for being present with us. Over to you, Maggie.
Thank you, Nigel. So, where am I? Je suis vraiment très, très, très fébrile ce soir. Ça fait 10 mois là qu'on n'a pas eu de logos. Et donc, on se retrouve ce soir. So we have 4 guests. I want to just name them and then I will introduce each of them as it's their turn to speak. So, Emily Nicolas, if you could just wave so everybody knows who you are. Emily, Pat, Dylan Moore, resting peacefully. Pierre Emmanuel, qui est ici. Fais allô, cher Pierre, qu'on puisse te voir, que tu es là. Hello, voilà. Et Egbert Gay. Hello, Egbert. Thank you to the 4 of you for accepting to join us. And welcome to Brenda and Audley who have joined us. Thank you. Alors ce soir, il est question des médias dans les communautés noires et nos 4 invités sont des personnalités de médias dans des médias différents et aussi avec des expériences extrêmement variées. So we do trust it's going to be a very interesting evening. But before we go any further, Nigel mentioned the late, regretfully late, Dr. Horace Goddard. We dedicate the whole series to him, and we're going to start with a tribute to Dr. Goddard. I'm going to be sharing my screen now. And as I invite Pat Dylan Moore for the tribute. Pat, if you will.
I'm looking at the picture, and he always bothered me about my eyes. And now it's the eyes of his pictures that are capturing me the most. I posted on Facebook, funnily enough, days after he died, because it took me a long time to write, you know, it's more a shout out, if you will, informing the public. And I guess because with all the deaths during COVID, and I had lost some other dear people, family members as well, it was enough. It was enough. It is with a real heavy heart that I let you know that the formidable titan of education, author and publisher, and a heavy lifter in the Montreal Black community, Dr. Horace Ishmael Goddard, died this past Saturday. Horace was a great teacher and administrator who retired as a long-standing commissioner of the English Montreal School Board. As an author and publisher of Kola Literary Magazine, a publication of the Quebec Black Writers Guild, his knowledge of literature was boundless. He encouraged several writers, including me, to pursue writing seriously, and was not the least bit shocked at the genre that now consumes me. A longtime board member of the Black Theatre Workshop and the Quebec Board of Black Educators, where his stewardship and wise counsel always circled around matters of human resources, ensured that these groups ran a sound administration. He always put people first. His dream, which oftentimes frustrated him, was that the EMSB needed more Black teachers and even more Black people at the board level, as the great wave of Caribbean 1970s teachers were almost all retired. He was constantly on the lookout for bright students and did what he could to help students, even those who struggled. He walked hand in hand with my daughter Storm on her first day to kindergarten to assure Wayne and I that our special needs child would be well looked after in one of his schools. I could go on and on about this Bajan and giant of a man. I will miss our calls, laughter, his sage advice, and him admonishing me for my cousin. Sleep on, beloved, sleep and take your rest. Horace leaves behind his wife, Patricia Dennison, and his children, and three beloved grandchildren. RIP hashtag Horace Goddard.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do
Thank
this.
you very much, Pat. OK,
Let's do
donc
this.
on va commencer. Je rappelle que toute la série sera dédiée donc à la mémoire de notre très regretté Horace Goddard, fondateur et même au moment de son décès, éditeur en chef de Kola Magazine et un des co-organisateurs des soirées lecture Logos Readings. J'aimerais peut-être inviter notre premier invité, Pierre-Emmanuel. Pierre, est-ce que tu serais prêt?
You want to turn this off when you come in?
I could turn it off.
Pierre?
No, you can turn it off now, it doesn't matter. Now or later.
Okay, so I will invite everybody to mute, except the people who will be speaking, of course. Thank you. Pierre-Emmanuel, est-ce que tu m'entends? Pierre? On dirait que Pierre-Emmanuel ne m'entend pas. Ou on n'arrive pas à l'entendre. Ok, je vais essayer de communiquer avec lui par ailleurs. En attendant, we will start with Pat. Would you be ready to speak? Where is Pat? I'm sorry, you know those things. Now I don't have the full gallery anymore. Pat, would you be ready? Unmute yourself, dear.
You
Yes.
want him to read first,
Okay,
and then
yes.
you would ask questions and we do media after?
Okay, well, first let me introduce you. Maybe the reading for later, if you don't mind. Okay, so Pat Dillon Moore is a broadcaster, actress, and producer, among numerous other things. She is the host of Bum Bum Time, a Black magazine format program on CKUT 90.3, and has been for more than 3 decades now. Broadcast producer and host, as well as a very much sought after MC. It is to be noted that Pat Dillon Moore was the first Black woman to hold the position of radio station manager when she was appointed at CKUT in 1990. So, Pat, we would like to know your thoughts on not only the situation of Black medias in the Black communities, but also how your voice you feel is. We already know it's important, but what is the added thing to in your voice in the Black communities, which you have been speaking to and speaking for 30 odd years now?
I think I find myself now and for the longest while, despite being known as being a real big mouth, as well as being an extrovert, I've retreated in myself and I've been hanging back, watching, and now more than ever, I've been listening. And given the platform and the mic, because accessibility has always been the hallmark of what it is I do. If I'm not accessible, the themes, the interviews, the sound quality, the content of what I produce or engage in, whether it's live and definitely on radio, has been to let people use the space. So CKUT is mandated as part of the third leg of the Broadcast Act as a campus community station. And as such, it is attached to McGill. And so they're makeup of many students and then those of us from the community. The largest raison d'etre, if you will, of CKUT is to give a voice to the voiceless. And this was during the heady times of alternative media when we had 2, 3, 4 alternative publications, both in French and in English. And we carve a niche within that alternative space because within the station, there breathes a different station. And that was a Black community station by a sheer number of Black programming. And I think it is there where I had to bridge the gaps between the audience, the staff that made up CKUT, and the staff of the station and the board, if you will. And for me, more importantly, it's the listener. What are they listening to? Why are they listening to the station? And is it the same old professional voices and the people they hear of on all the various stations, or are they different? Is the content different? And so I think my greatest impact has been allowing youth voices and really, really young voices. My daughter has been on radio ever since she could talk properly at about 2.5 years old. In fact, both my children have been on air with me. And teenagers from various Black community organizations, they've been trained there. This is where a lot of training has been done on air. Let them express themselves, particularly during the 90s, which was a tough time when there was a lot of so-called Black on Black violence. This is where the community grieved. And then the elderly and the community leadership came there. Because when there was a story in the Gazette, you could bet that the story coming out of alternative sources like CKUT was extremely different because we knew, if not the victim's children, wife, or parents. And oftentimes it is by listening to these people and giving them the power to echo back their feeling on a myriad of subjects. And I think that has been my greatest impact of my voice. And when I don't speak, let them speak in their words. And language. Language in Quebec is often broken down between English and French. Well, I'm sorry, language for me includes all of the Creoles and Jamaican patois and all of the English Caribbean brogue, if you will. And that is where people could be comfortable in their language.
So much for that input, and congratulations again for the work, and thank you for the work you've been doing for so long. Thank you, Pat. Maybe there will be questions for you. I remind everyone, if you want to ask any questions, please do so in the chat at the bottom of your screen, and we will be taking them later on. Merci. On passe. Pierre-Emmanuel, est-ce que tu nous entends maintenant?
Oui, très bien.
Ah oui, et là, on t'entend très bien. Alors, on va passer maintenant à Pierre-Emmanuel. Pierre-Emmanuel, donc, est journaliste, politologue, poète, aussi romancier. Il est directeur de la salle des nouvelles de CPAM et il est à Montréal depuis une quinzaine d'années.
2003.
Ok, 17 ans, bientôt 18 ans déjà, et a eu une carrière extrêmement importante en Haïti. Donc, il a été formé à l'école de Radio Haïti Inter avec le très regretté Jean-Dominique. Donc, Pierre-Emmanuel, c'est ça pour toi, la question était, j'aurais envie que tu nous dises, parce que tu peux faire le parallèle entre là-bas et ici. Donc, peut-être un peu ton expérience là-bas et comment tu la compares à ce que tu vis ici et comment tu vois les médias ici. Tu es, je le rappelle, à CPAM 1410 et CPAM est la seule radio haïtienne au Québec. Alors,
Bon, il y a des différences notables. La première chose, c'est que je sais, quand je me réveille le matin, que je prends la route à 5 heures du matin pour me rendre à CEPAM, dans Saint-Michel, je vais arriver, je vais faire mon émission et je vais rentrer chez moi voir mes enfants. Alors qu'en Haïti, en sortant chez moi, je n'ai pas la garantie que je vais arriver sur mon lieu de travail. Je peux être tué, assassiné, kidnappé. Et le kidnapping, c'est un peu plus récent, mais assassiné, oui, parce que le métier de journaliste est le métier de tous les dangers. Ce qui fait que mes parents, quand je leur ai dit que j'étais tenté par le journalisme, tout jeune, j'ai toujours été tenté par la poésie, par le métier de parler, l'art de parler en public. Et il n'en était pas question. Et c'est dû au fait que être journaliste était synonyme de ce qu'on appelle en Haïti marcher avec son cercueil sous le bras. Et, donc, fondamentalement, j'ai toujours eu cette impression de ne pas arriver à destination ou de ne pas rentrer chez moi. Alors qu'à Montréal, je sais, en dehors d'un accident, puisque je ne suis je ne fais partie que de cercle littéraire et professionnel, parce que, évidemment, ce sont des réalités qui existent aussi à Montréal. On entend des gens se faire tuer, etc., des règlements de compte. Donc, pour mon métier, pour ce qu'il s'agit de mon métier, je sais que je vais sortir de chez moi, arriver à destination et rentrer chez moi. Donc, c'est la première comparaison que je peux faire. Le degré de dangerosité dans la pratique du métier. L'autre aspect qui avait retenu mon attention, c'est être journaliste en Haïti, justement, c'est lié à la gravité des situations. C'est quelque chose de sérieux. Je ne plaisante pas quand je fais les nouvelles. Et j'ai appris à faire les nouvelles avec un peu plus de légèreté. Et c'est évidemment lié aux contextes qui sont différents. C'est-à-dire que j'ai toujours habité, que ce soit comme poète, que ce soit comme journaliste, que ce soit comme militant politique, j'ai toujours été animé de ce sentiment de l'urgence de dire. C'est d'abord parce que je suis privilégié dans un pays où 60% de la population ne savent ni lire ni écrire. Je suis un privilégié parce que je suis issu d'une famille où j'ai pu manger, avoir un toit, etc., etc. Mais j'ai toujours été habité, je suis d'une famille aussi avec un certain engagement je dirais, de père en fils, où on nous a appris à être interpellé par ce que Malraux va appeler la condition humaine. Et cette urgence de dire qui m'a toujours habité, qui m'habite aussi à Montréal, c'est pour dénoncer l'insécurité, c'est pour dénoncer l'injustice, c'est pour... Et j'ai aimé quand tu as rappelé l'école d'où je viens, l'école de Radio Haïti, qui était la radio libre, qui était aussi la voix des sans-voix, c'est-à-dire des gens des quartiers pauvres, des pas quartiers de Port-au-Prince, la voix de la paysannerie, ceux qu'on considère comme faisant partie du pays en dehors. Et c'est cet héritage-là que j'ai transporté avec moi à Montréal. Et en dehors de cette inquiétude au quotidien pour ma survie que je n'ai pas, j'ai toujours cette urgence de dire par rapport, l'autre jour j'étais sur Notre-Dame un peu avant, avant qu'on ne défasse les camps des itinérants. Pour moi, chaque fois qu'il y a cette sensation d'incompréhension ou de je me sens interpellé. Et mon travail comme aussi enseignant, c'est toujours dans cette direction-là. Cette urgence de dire que je veux transmettre, je crains de mourir et de ne pas avoir assez dit.
You
Unmute
muted.
myself before I say yes, thank you. Oui, Pierre-Emmanuel. Donc, le rôle, peut-être on va parler plus précisément maintenant du rôle de CPAM et donc de ton rôle en tant que directeur de la salle des nouvelles dans le paysage médiatique de la ville, de la province.
Bon, dans la faune médiatique québécoise, s'il y a une chose, parce qu'on vient de réaliser un sondage, s'il y a une chose qui me fait plaisir, c'est que l'écoute a considérablement augmenté. C'est un sondage Léger Marketing qui nous donne comme le média qui écoute les communautés noires. Donc, et pas seulement la communauté haïtienne, mais les communautés noires. C'est vrai que j'ai essayé le plus possible de donner aussi la parole aux artistes, aux écrivains, aux intellectuels. Ce n'est pas toujours une parole en regard de communautés racisées, mais ça l'a été souvent. Je dis que ce n'est pas toujours, mais ça l'a été souvent. Et je crois que le travail, au bout d'un certain nombre d'années, a fait son bonhomme de chemin. Ce que je pense avoir apporté également, c'est au-delà de cette communauté, de cette représentation dont on est très fier de la communauté haïtienne, c'est une dimension qui va au-delà de la communauté haïtienne, qui est une représentation de la communauté, des communautés noires en général, et de plus en plus au-delà des communautés noires et des communautés racisées. C'est une tendance vers une ethnicité plus large, plus diversifiée, qui est devenue de plus en plus importante dans Montréal. Et ce n'est pas pour rien, chaque fois, l'autre jour encore, je le disais à une consoeur de Radio-Canada, Magali Lépine-Blondeau, je lui disais, avant d'être québécois, parce que je m'identifie à la nation québécoise, je suis d'abord et avant tout un Montréalais. Et parce que je me sens Montréalais, je vis Montréal, je partage les sensibilités qu'il y a dans cette ville, et c'est pourquoi j'ai toujours trouvé la communauté haïtienne un peu repliée sur elle-même. Et s'il y a une chose qu'au cours de ces années, par exemple, depuis ma deuxième année à CPAM, j'avais créé la dynamique des paniers de Noël. Les paniers de Noël, c'était une façon de dire à l'autre, de parler dans le concret de cette solidarité agissante. Mais c'était aussi un travail d'implication. L'haïtien a toujours eu la réputation de vivre dans ses valises. Quand est-ce que je vais retourner au pays? Je bâtis cette maison au pays, tout en gardant les liens avec Haïti, tout en gardant ce souci. Mais il y a, à côté de l'avenir, le présent qu'il faut vivre. Et ma bataille était d'abord cette implication par rapport à la communauté, c'est-à-dire rendre un peu à cette communauté d'accueil ce qu'elle nous donne. La deuxième chose, c'était l'implication politique. Parce qu'on avait la réputation de ne pas s'impliquer politiquement, c'est-à-dire de ne pas aller voter, etc. Ce qui fait qu'on est une population importante dans le Grand Montréal, sinon la plus importante dans le Grand Montréal, et la représentativité de cette communauté haïtienne est très minime par rapport à la dimension de sa population, par rapport au volume de sa population. Et le combat, c'était aussi de motiver les gens politiquement, de participer, d'aller participer à des élections. C'est vrai qu'il y a, entre-temps, des candidats qui arrivent, qui sont plus impliqués dans la communauté aussi, qui font ce travail de mobilisation, de porter les gens à participer à la chose commune. Et je crois que s'il y a une chose, s'il y a deux choses pour lesquelles je peux être fier, c'est d'abord ce souci de solidarité agissante et ce souci de participation. Et le souci de participation ne s'arrête pas avec la question de la dynamique politique, de la dynamique électorale. C'est aussi le fait d'avoir créé que CPAM soit un des rendez-vous les plus importants pour Emma Québec, c'est-à-dire donner du sang. Nous sommes une communauté noire et nous sommes très frappés par l'anémie falciforme. Et il fallait que les gens comprennent qu'il faut du sang noir pour subvenir aux besoins de tous ces jeunes qui sont frappés par l'anémie falciforme, etc. Et je crois qu'au bout de 15 ans, on a réussi un parcours intéressant. Alors, en un mot, la différence, si elle est négative dans le sens de cette sensation de survie et à Montréal, de souffler et de savoir que je peux me réveiller à 1h du matin et d'aller prendre un verre dans un bar et de rentrer chez moi à 2-3 heures du matin, en dehors de cette comparaison, ce que je me suis donné et que je me donne encore comme mission, je pense que Montréal est pour moi un prolongement d'Haïti. Maggie dirait d'île en île. Hein? C'est un prolongement d'une île à l'autre.
Oui, merci beaucoup. Merci Pierre-Emmanuel. On se retrouve tout à l'heure pour ta lecture. Tu n'es pas en onde à 20h là, ce soir.
Oui, mais c'est...
Oh, tu es en onde à 20h.
Oui.
Ok, alors si vous permettez, tout le monde, on va te demander de faire ta lecture maintenant pour qu'on puisse te libérer. Parce que Pierre-Emmanuel is also the newscaster at 8 o'clock. Donc, le poème que Pierre-Emmanuel va nous présenter, alors tout le monde sait que demain, c'est le 12 janvier, qui ramène donc le 11e très sombre anniversaire du séisme qui a dévasté l'île d'Haïti. Et Pierre-Emmanuel a eu la douleur de perdre, entre autres nombreux êtres chers, son neveu. Et en tant que poète, c'est à travers sa poésie qu'il a exprimé cela. Il va donc nous lire maintenant son poème en hommage à son neveu. Merci, Pierre.
À mon neveu 7. Le soleil de janvier n'a plus la même saveur. La musique du vent n'a plus la même douceur. Port-au-Prince survit à l'effroi de mourir. Des mains novices ont joué avec ma ville jusqu'à la briser. Que reste-t-il de mon pays? Aurons-nous jamais assez de fleurs pour saluer leur mémoire, embaumer leurs souvenirs? Pourrons-nous oublier le chagrin du jour où cette terre a tremblé? La cathédrale s'effondre à la dernière note du libérat et devient poussière de décombres. À ses pieds, le palais beau et majestueux fait sa dernière génuflexion, ultime image de fin de monde. Un après-midi de janvier, ma terre devenue immense déchirure, crie entre les murs. Mes rues devenues corridors blessés pour hordes de corps muets. Le vent pue la mort et Seth qui se bat pour sortir des décombres. Les heures passent et Seth continue de chanter son ultime combat contre la bête affreuse, lui fauchant sa jeunesse. La terre libère sa colère comme une bête féroce par les cris étouffés sous l'immense drap blanc de titanien. Silence, un pays sanglote. Deyo, m'après les Deyo, Haïti, oh, Deyo, m'a chanté Deyo, Haïti, oh. Au loin, la voix de Toto Bicinte emportée par le vent, me laissant seul dans le délire de ma souffrance contenue. Chaque pierre porte les traces du jour. Port-au-Prince a tremblé, le jour où tant de rêves se sont enfouis dans le ventre de la terre. Moment d'indicible douleur. 34 secondes pour nous rappeler toute notre fragilité d'homme. Dans Port-au-Prince en lambeaux, un chant envahit les rues, déchirant le silence de la ville. Comme une immense rumeur, veuves, mères, amantes, orphelines, cohortes de survivantes reprennent en chœur l'hymne à la vie. Ô Haïti, quelle joie de te savoir vivante. On louange de partout ta résilience, à genoux le cœur en larmes, ton sourire masque mal ta souffrance. Ouvrir les yeux de l'autre côté de la brûlure, de la noirceur des mots, reprendre son souffle, jeter la dernière goutte, la dernière poignée de terre, fermer le battant ouvert sur l'insoutenable, l'horreur, laisser tomber le rideau sur le jour où Seth a mangé son dernier bol d'avoine. Port-au-Prince croise les bras sur son corps meurtri, interroge le vide. Ma ville s'arrête à mi-chemin de la douleur pour tenter de faire vivre la vie, sortir du cauchemar, exorciser les lieux, invoquer les esprits, ouvrir le passage à ceux qui en aimera toujours. J'ai vu ma ville baisser lentement les yeux pour pleurer ses enfants disparus. Cette nuit, j'ai encore rêvé de Port-au-Prince, ma ville au trop-plein de misère, ma ville de faste et de fête, ville de caprice et d'extravagance. Port-au-Prince sur la croix des Beaux-Salles, Port-au-Prince crucifié, noyé de bave et de sang. Port-au-Prince laisse éclater sa fureur, moi je laisse exploser mon chagrin. Ce soir, je me ferai une fois de plus caressé par ma ville aux mains tremblantes. Port-au-Prince, j'ai parcouru ma ville pour ramasser à une tes lettres de noblesse, te composer une musique belle et douce, mélodie du bon vieux temps. Ô ma ville d'amour, j'enterrai ma rancune contre toi. Je m'assoirai sur tes genoux pour te parler de jacobin noir, de rhum macéré aux cerises, au quenep et à la cannelle. Port-au-Prince, ma ville, quand je pense à toi, je frémis d'embarras et de plaisir.
Merci. Merci.
Merci à vous tous. Merci de m'avoir invité.
Oh, merci beaucoup.
J'espère qu'on se reprendra.
Oui, qu'on se reprendra très prochainement parce que Logos doit reprendre. On se reparlera. Merci beaucoup, Pierre.
D'accord. Merci et bonsoir à tous.
Bonsoir. C'était Pierre-Emmanuel, donc. Merci.
Merci.
Wow. Okay. So now, Mr. Egbert Gayser, how are you?
Very good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Let me introduce you. So, Egbert Gay is well known throughout the province and beyond as the founder and managing editor of Montreal Community Contact, the longest running of its kind, close to 30 years now, right?
Yeah.
Close to 30 years, and the paper is recognized as an institutional force in the Black communities of the city and the province. Mr. Gay, sir, what do you have for us tonight? Well, actually, from you, what I would like to have, beyond what you're going to say, is you have been around for all that long while, because before community contact, you were into other things also, which led you to create community contact. So how was it then? How far have we gone, and how far do we still have to go?
When we look at media, organizations, we come to understand that every media outlet or media organizations as a whole reflect the society in which they operate. So we've had different periods of times when our community has been on the outside looking in, when most of those media outlets did not reflect the society. Just like other institutions, Black people were not adequately represented in. When I started community contact in the 1990s, I came at a crucial time when the community was finding itself, when we were finding itself in terms of numbers, when we were building institutions, when businesses were blossoming across the city, and the community was taking hold. And so out of that community, we had to build. But before that, we had something, we had the Gazette, we had CFCF 12, we had CBC, and we had probably very minimal representation in those institutions. What happens as a result of that is the stereotypical reflection that came out of those institutions. So our community, the coverage, the main coverage of the Black community was tourist, what I call the term to be a tourist reflection of our community. They came when we had festivals. They came to cover the food we eat, spicy food. They came to see how we dance. They came to meet colorful personalities. And of course, that was the good things that they can find in our community. They were like tourists. They came in, looked, and they went out. Outside of that, we were represented in the same ways, you know, that the perceptions. Criminals, they would show a picture of a Black guy committing a crime and overrepresented in that silliness. So that was the society that we were seeing. You know, I came in the 80s and I met that. But parallel to that, there were things happening in our community because we've always had a dynamic Black community here in Quebec. We've always had people who were striving to do better. And so we had little instances of institutional responses to media. I remember speaking to a guy, he formed one of the first Black newspapers here, the Freelance, man out of Guyana, I can't remember his name. Anyhow, so he formed the Freelance back in the 40s, the Freelancer, sorry. And he formed that out of that same need to reflect ourselves, to tell our stories. And as Black people, that has to be a cornerstone, a foundational drive of our community. Because our ability to tell our stories with our own voices, whether it's on radio, whether it's on television, whether it's in newspaper, that's an important thing. We have to be able to empower ourselves enough that we can take hold of our obligation to reflect ourselves. And we have, now that we've seen the proliferation of media places and the social media has made it so easy for everyone to become citizen journalists and to tell different sectors of our community, different stories, that's all good. We still have to have a unified voice that's reflected in some sort of organization. And that's why that's why we have to commend an institution such as CPAM in the Haitian sector of our community, as they have taken it upon themselves to come to value how important it is for us to own media, how important it is for us to have authority and agency over the stories that we tell. And I think I got started a little quickly and I didn't take the time to thank you guys for organizing something like this and congratulate you on this initiative and thanking you again for inviting me to be part of this, because I think it's so important for us to speak and recognize, you know, the institutions that are going to lead to our empowerment, because today we're in 2021, we're at a time when the call for social justice has become so loud. But I wonder about our community. Are we ready to receive? Are we in a position to receive yet? I'm not sure if we're in a position to receive. The government is saying, well, look, we're ready to help you guys. We have money set aside. We have $221 million. We want to research institutions in the Black community. We want to research the business foundation. Are we ready to receive properly in a way that we can build? And not building for us, but building for our children and our grandchildren. We have to understand the importance of media. We have to understand the importance of these institutions. I was speaking to one of the bosses, a regional manager at CBC, not long ago, and she's thanking me. She's saying, you know what, Egbert, thank you. Right now at CBC, we have something like 6 or 7 people who had community contact. You know, I know Maya Johnson when she was 15, 16 years old. That's when she came. So we as a community, we have had the skill and the talent, and we've had that whole line of people who excelled in all sort of media organizations and in all sort of media environments in Canada. I know so many of them passed through community contact. As a community, we're still lacking. We still haven't done the building that needs to be built, not one, but a foundation of institutions that we can say, look, this is what we have. This is what we need. Because even as we call for the governments and we call for police departments and we call for institutions across Quebec, be nice to us, Black people, help us, give us a little something. We're still lacking in the capacity for us to receive and make ourselves, you know, good receivers, and we can use it to empower ourselves. So I think that is an important thing. It's important that we understand that ownership is a foundational part of growth, especially for our community. Media ownership is just as important, even as we get to a time when, you know, social media has made it, you know, a whole that terrain a whole different thing. We still have to figure out how do we unite under proper voices, and we can speak as one, and we can tell our stories, and we can hire our own people, and we can go forward with, you know, with that sort of with that solidarity, that unity of voices. And we are separated. We are separated by voices, by languages. We're separated even in certain instances, geography. One group is in this sector. We have to find ways, and organizations like yours are finding ways how to bring that thing together, bring it all together. And we, even if it's going to be online, if it's going to be online radio, online television, we have to figure out that Black people have a right to own media outlets, manage our stories, and tell it in such a way that it would properly reflect who we are in this society, because we are constantly judged in this society. In the mainstream media, we all can find places. I've worked in mainstream media for decades. It's still racist, it's still backwards, it's still, you know, when it comes to the Black community, still ignorant. So it means that, you know, the onus and the responsibility is on us. It's on us to be able to tell those stories. We have to, and beyond that, we have to find ways to support those institutions that are in place. We have to find ways to be unreserved in our support of CPAM. We have to find ways to be unreserved in support of community contact. Today, there are people who know and call and glorify me for what? For working on CJD. not for community contact, which, you know, which is the real work, but the little gig that I have on CJD, Black people, they celebrate me for that. Man, I like hearing you on CJD. I don't like being on CJD. I wish we had our own radio station. I wish we can build our own things, but we still at the mercy of society, a society that has had us alienated, marginalized, treat us as tourists. But we still glorify that. I'm saying it's cool. We're going to have skilled and capable people who's going to find themselves in mainstream media. They're going to do it. But we have to always remember that the real building and the real path, the real road to empowerment comes when you build your own. You know, I've been approached by the Sikh community. They came to me, they said, we want to start a radio station. We went to the CRTC and we want to start a radio station. How do we do it? Someone told us, you can. I said, I can help you. How am I going to help you? We came, I put my name on a paper. They got the license. We haven't been able to do that. All sectors of this society have been able to set up and manage and support their own media outlets. Oh, look at all the groups. We still find it so difficult to do it as Black people. Why? I know why. I know the reason why. But we have to go beyond that. And even at this difficult time, even as social media has changed that whole dynamic, we still got to figure out a way how we're going to have that unified voice and how we're going to go forward. When I started Community Contact, I'm going to get to that right now. When I started Community Contact in 1993, I mean, I sort of stumbled onto it. I was in journalism, and what stories do I cover when you're in journalism school? I started covering the community, just filled with stories, filled with amazing people, amazing exploits, amazing institutions. This 1969 riots, the NCC, Union United Church, that's only the English sector. In the French sector, there were just as exciting stories to tell, personalities, people, things to do. We are here. Marie-José Angelique, history, a part of that whole thing. In the middle of my own life, my wife's family is the first Black playwright, the first Black lawyer, the first Black judge. Well, that's just within one family. Just excellence all over. Stories to tell. We haven't seen those stories in the mainstream media. And I'm saying, whoa, this is cool. Maybe I can tell some of these stories. And I'm telling these stories in journalism school and then by extension in Community Contact. We still have so many stories to tell. We still have such a community to glorify. We still have so much of a history that we have to educate people about. But we're not proud of ourselves. We haven't been proud of ourselves for a long time. Because somebody told us, well, no, the way the mainstream media tell it is better. The way the mainstream, they have more credibility than we do. We who practice community journalism. That's sad. And if an initiative such as this, which is really highly credible, if it should mean anything, it's the fact that we have voices, people who are highly skilled and highly capable of taking ownership of our own stories and telling it. And, one of the greatest achievement of Community Contact has to be and remain the people, the young people that were involved, that used it as a way forward to build careers and take their skills to another level. I think that's the real thing. The real achievement of the newspaper was getting those young people out there, getting them to see journalism and communication as an option, and of course, telling the stories of a community that is alive and dynamic and great. Thank you.
Wow, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Egbert. Yes, you had a lot of things to say. Thanks for sharing them with us. So maybe there will be questions for you later on, but thank you for now. Et on passe maintenant à notre dernière invitée, Émilie Nicolas. Bonsoir, Émilie. Émilie Nicolas, féministe, militante antiraciste, chroniqueuse, notamment au Devoir, à CBC Radio, à la télévision de CBC et à CTV, et également enseignante. Elle enseigne depuis
Vendredi, je commence.
Tu commences, OK. Elle va enseigner un cours sur Black Lives Matter at Toronto U, where she studied for her PhD. Donc, Émilie, bonsoir. Merci de te joindre à nous et la parole est à toi.
Merci beaucoup, Maggie. Est-ce que, en fait, moi, j'ai préparé un texte. Est-ce que je le lis ou est-ce que tu veux qu'on parle ou comme qu'est-ce que tu veux faire en fait?
Non, si tu as préparé un texte pour ce soir, vas-y. Et si j'ai des questions, je te les poserai après. Si tu permets, juste avant que tu continues, je veux dire à Pat Dillon to get ready because we're going to finish with your reading, Pat, okay? after Emily. Thank you. Oui, Emily, vas-y, chère.
Je veux juste dire que, en fait, c'est ça, je suis chroniqueuse au devoir depuis 2 ans. Puis depuis, ça m'a permis de travailler comme commentatrice, analyste à la télévision en anglais, en fait, à CTV et à CBC. Puis j'ai commencé avec The Gazette aussi en anglais une semaine sur deux. Puis j'ai l'impression que, en fait, jusqu'à juin dernier, en fait, juste le contexte que j'ai donné, jusqu'à juin dernier, j'écrivais seulement dans Le Devoir une semaine sur deux. Et depuis le mois de juin, avec la mort de George Floyd, c'est comme le Canada a découvert les Noirs. Et là, ça prend des Noirs dans les médias. Et ceux qui étaient disponibles et sur la ligne d'arrivée, c'est comme professionnellement, les opportunités que j'ai ont explosé dans les 6 derniers mois. Et c'est pas parce que je suis une personne différente, c'est à cause de la pandémie de white guilt qui est en ce moment un peu partout, qui est vraiment en train de transformer les choses. Puis juste la dernière chose que je veux dire avant de lire mon texte, en fait, 2 choses. La première, c'est que j'ai énormément de gratitude et d'appréciation pour ce que Edgar vient de dire et ce que aussi Pierre avait dit juste avant. C'est extrêmement important pour moi d'être exposée à ça, qui justement travaille dans les médias blancs, d'avoir ces voix-là, puis d'entendre les gens qui sont des pionniers dans les médias, dans les communautés noires depuis autant d'années que ça. J'ai beaucoup à apprendre de vous, puis je fais juste absorber ce que vous dites, en fait. Puis, la dernière chose, c'est un élément de contexte avant la lecture. Je le prépare pour une revue qui m'a demandé d'écrire sur l'expérience des personnes noires dans les médias. En fait, c'était juste un hasard qu'après Maggie m'a appelé pour me demander la même chose. Puis, il va y avoir de l'editing qui va être fait. C'est un premier brouillon, c'est un premier jet, mais avec vous, je me permets de dire les choses sans les cuddle. Je fais juste dire les choses telles qu'elles sont. Puis juste, c'est pas aussi, ce que je dis dans ce texte-là, c'est pas nécessairement mon expérience à moi surtout. J'ai aussi beaucoup comme fait des entrevues, en fait, avec des gens, des personnes noires qui travaillent dans différents médias, dans différentes positions au fil des années, pour des conférences que j'ai préparées pour le milieu syndical et aussi pour mon travail de consultante aussi que je fais dans les médias pour les aider à comme, éliminer le racisme systémique à l'intérieur de leurs propres institutions. Donc, il y a beaucoup des choses que j'écris qui sont basées sur des témoignages que j'ai recueillis. C'est pas nécessairement mon expérience personnelle, c'est vraiment une liste des choses qui reviennent le plus souvent quand je parle à des professionnels noirs qui travaillent dans les médias, principalement au Québec, mais aussi en Ontario. Donc voilà. 10 petits et grands agacements d'une femme noire dans les médias canadiens. Numéro 1, 1-800 races, phénomène selon lequel on appelle en urgence.
Émilie, on ne t'entend pas. Émilie? Oh oh. On ne t'entend pas. Donnez-nous une petite seconde. Émilie, est-ce que tu m'entends?
Oui, je t'entends.
OK, parce que on a entendu en urgence et puis après, on n'a plus rien entendu.
Est-ce que
On
vous
t'entend
m'entendez
maintenant. Ouais.
Maintenant, ça va.
OK, je ne sais pas ce qui se passe.
Je ne sais pas, mais je t'invite à recommencer
OK, parfait.
au début, s'il te plaît.
Oui, juste un petit instant. Je vais juste arranger mes fenêtres autrement. Peut-être que ça va aider.
Pendant que tu t'organises, je veux souhaiter la bienvenue aux personnes qui se sont jointes à nous et aussi saluer celles et ceux qui sont avec nous via Facebook. Merci d'être là. Oui, Émilie,
OK, ça devrait être mieux comme ça. Dites-moi si ça ne fonctionne pas.
jusqu'ici, ça va.
OK, donc 10 et petits grands agacements d'une femme noire dans les médias canadiens. Numéro 1, 1-800 races, phénomène selon lequel on appelle en urgence quelques intervenants noirs lorsque l'actualité l'exige, sans toutefois s'admettre que l'actualité l'exige toujours. Dans le quotidien, peu importe le sujet, et qu'aucun enjeu de politique publique au 21e siècle n'est mieux sous-pesé par un panel tout blanc au cœur d'une émission produite par une équipe toute blanche. Attitude qui reconnaît la pertinence d'interviewer des Noirs d'ici lorsque quelque chose va mal aux États-Unis, mais qui se transforme en exaspération si ces Noirs d'ici en profitent pour parler de ce qui se passe ici. C'est qu'on cherche toujours l'angle canadien dans les nouvelles internationales, sauf lorsqu'on est en mode 1-800 races. Il est à noter que les Noirs répondent aux appels 1-800 races. Les Noirs qui répondent aux appels 1-800 races contribuent à la qualité de l'information bénévolement pour la plupart du temps, puisqu'ils ne sont pas partie des équipes régulières des émissions. Il faut en comprendre qu'il y a non seulement sous-représentation dans les médias, mais que les quelques personnes noires que l'on entend sont proportionnellement moins nombreuses à être rémunérées pour leur contribution que les personnes blanches à l'antenne. Numéro 2, la boîte. Cette boîte dans laquelle on enferme celles et ceux qui répondent aux appels 1-800 races. Puisqu'on ne voit pas la pertinence d'avoir des Noirs à l'antenne, sauf que lorsqu'il est question de race, on associe ces visages noirs aux sujets liés à la race. Il ne vient pas à l'idée que si ces personnes peuvent commenter avec délicatesse les controverses les plus explosives au Québec, elles possèdent les qualités, des habiletés en communication qui mériteraient d'être testées sur une foule de sujets plus faciles. Les féministes, les leaders du mouvement étudiant et les environnementalistes, elles et eux, peuvent rapidement faire le pont vers des rôles d'analyste de société et les biais d'humeur, voire le commentaire politique général. Mais la banque d'appel 1-800 races, elle, est beaucoup plus étanche. Numéro 3, la militance. Forme de sorcellerie dont les jeunes reporters noirs sont régulièrement accusés lorsqu'ils ou elles tentent de contribuer à leur salle de nouvelles. Les jeunes journalistes noirs se font même souvent poser la question dès l'entrevue d'embauche. Mais vous, vos valeurs à vous, là, ne seraient-elles pas militantes? Êtes-vous sûr d'avoir ce qu'il faut pour être journaliste? L'indépendance d'esprit, la neutralité. Il faut se rappeler que les femmes blanches, lorsqu'elles étaient peu nombreuses dans l'industrie, ont longtemps subi ce traitement. Si elles devaient encore aujourd'hui se défendre d'être des sorcières féministes devant leur pupitraire à chaque idée soumise, on n'aurait jamais eu de journalisme d'enquête sur les agressions sexuelles, le mouvement MeToo. Chaque reportage sur la parité passerait au peigne fin des éditeurs inquisiteurs. On ne pourrait pas imprimer qu'il existe des inégalités hommes-femmes sans que le rédacteur demande 8 sources scientifiques à l'appui ou suggère d'inclure dans le texte quelques concessions et contre-arguments afin que le texte passe mieux pour un lectorat assumé comme masculin. Heureusement, la réalité a changé pour les femmes blanches. Peut-être qu'elle changera un jour aussi pour les reporters noirs. Peut-être qu'un jour, les accusations de militantisme ne serviront plus d'excuses politiquement correctes pour garder les salles de nouvelles homogènes. Peut-être qu'un jour, on sera rendu au stade d'avoir assez de journalistes autochtones ou de personnes trans dans les médias pour qu'elles aient le privilège, entre immenses guillemets, d'avoir désormais à se préoccuper de ce problème-là. Numéro 4, l'objectivité, c'est-à-dire le point de vue, les attitudes et les croyances très subjectives de la classe moyenne urbaine qui domine les salles de nouvelles. Ne pas partager ces a priori objectifs, ces a priori, c'est manquer d'objectivité et peut exposer à des procès pour sorcellerie militante qui se concluent par une excommunication professionnelle. Il faut faire très attention. Numéro 5, le fit, c'est ce qui est recherché plus que tout, surtout lorsqu'il est question d'accéder aux postes plus seniors. On veut que l'émission, la salle de nouvelles ou l'équipe de travail soit l'objet d'une grande cohésion, que tout le monde s'entende bien, qu'il y ait collégialité. Pour y arriver, on privilégie ce qui ressemble le plus aux versions juniors des boss déjà en place. On est rassuré si elles ont le même pedigree, si on sait exactement dans quelle cohorte du programme de communication à l'UQAM elles ont étudié. Donc, l'homogénéité sociale se reproduit, mais ce n'est pas parce qu'on est raciste, God forbid. Numéro 6, le public, avec un P majuscule. On l'imagine, à moins d'une émission particulière, ce public comme étant blanc, banlieusard et boomer. Il faut que le ton du contenu réponde aux besoins du public et à ses besoins pédagogiques et qu'ils partent de leurs a priori. Il ne faut pas aller trop loin pour le public ou trop sortir de ses champs d'intérêt imaginés. C'est pas de la censure, c'est ce qu'on cherche, c'est qu'on recherche là aussi le bon fit. Numéro 7, le porte-parole. Conditions d'existence non désirées et certainement indésirables, mais nécessairement associées aux quelques personnes noires dans les médias en vue de leur rareté. On n'est porte-parole de rien ni personne, mais en même temps, on porte parole très littéralement en intervenant dans les médias sur certains sujets. Dans la communauté, on nous applaudit de porter parole lorsqu'on est d'accord avec le propos, ou on se demande pour qui on se prend lorsqu'on se serait exprimé autrement. Si on ne connaît pas trop comment les médias fonctionnent, on ne reconnaît pas que l'extrême minorisation nous enferme ainsi dans un piège. D'un autre côté, les patrons voudraient qu'on ne parle pas de race trop souvent pour question de prouver que les Noirs ont aussi accès à l'universel. Paraîtrait que la preuve reste à faire dans l'esprit du fameux public. Sauf que dans le contexte d'extrême minorisation, on sait que si les quelques Noirs n'écrivent pas là-dessus une semaine, alors qu'un événement grave s'est produit, les collègues ne feront pas nécessairement le travail à notre place. On fait partie d'une équipe, mais on est seul. Là aussi, il y a un piège. Numéro 8, bottin humain. On voudrait nos Noirs objectifs, mais aussi assez militants pour être réseautés. C'est ce qui permet d'éviter d'engager des recherchistes qui auraient des réseaux diversifiés. Suffit d'interpeller l'un des membres de 1-800 races pour qu'il et elle se transforment en recherchistes bénévoles, bien sûr, pour trouver des, entre guillemets, nouveaux visages. Pourquoi diversifier les équipes de réalisation et de production ou même engager des consultants lorsqu'on peut s'en sortir en comptant sur la disponibilité de ces éternellement serviables amis noirs? 9, la haine. Comme pigiste, les opportunités professionnelles viennent principalement sur les médias sociaux. Pour maintenir une présence sur les médias sociaux, il faut s'exposer à de la haine, parfois des dizaines de fois par semaine. Ça fait partie des risques du métier, il faut vivre avec, mais ne cherchez pas une indemnisation à la CNSST pour accident de travail. Numéro 10, la passion. La passion pour l'humain, pour cette société, pour l'écriture, pour l'apprentissage, pour l'analyse, le goût d'avoir un impact, de faire une différence, les alliés, les amis, les gens qui veulent faire changer les choses, qui travaillent sans tambour ni trompette de l'intérieur. Tout ce qui rend, presque à chaque jour, bien petit et tout à fait supportable les agacements susnommés au point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 et 9. Voilà.
Bravo. Super. Merci. Merci beaucoup, Émilie. J'espère que ce texte est à paraître où?
Dans la revue qui s'appelle Options politiques.
Okay.
C'est juste il va y avoir de la révision, ça ne sera pas sous cette forme exactement, là, mais
Okay.
ouais, c'est ça, ils m'ont demandé de publier un texte sur ces enjeux-là.
Mm-hmm.
J'y suis allée avec mon cœur.
Et merci de nous faire l'honneur de partager ça avec nous en primeur. C'est la deuxième fois d'ailleurs que tu fais ça pour Logos.
Oui,
Merci infiniment. Et je pense que tu as vraiment tout couvert. Je ne sais pas ce qu'il resterait à couvrir, mais peut-être que quelqu'un dans les questions aura quelque chose à te demander. tout à l'heure. Alors, les amis, il nous reste une quinzaine de minutes. On va aller à, tu vois, il y a déjà des commentaires on point de la part d'Ariane. Merci, thank you, bravo Émilie. Ça réagit bien. On avait des bravos pour Egbert aussi tout à l'heure. Enfin, vous pouvez consulter le chat. Il y a plein de commentaires pour tout le monde. Avant de passer à la période de questions, j'aimerais demander à Pat. Pat, are you ready for us to do your reading? Dearest? Pat Dillon va nous présenter son texte. You have to unmute yourself. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
This one is called Waning Sky. You took my sky when the ground shifted underneath my feet. You took the sky. You then made me more fearful. That fear filled me and made me put my dreams to sleep. Yet I never stopped dreaming for my kids. Then I started to have more kids. Then my surroundings became populated with even more youth. I was then dreaming more and more dreams. I never summoned them, they just came. In all those dreams for the children, in them I saw me. I started only seeing me, only in my dreams. Not me doing anything, just me with people, all sorts of people. Through these dreams, I have yet to just be me. The realization that I may not have many skies left makes me anxious. The todays, when they end, have me fighting sleep. I don't want to be anxious, so I don't want to sleep. If I don't sleep, I will not dream. If I don't dream, I will not propel the children forward. If I don't force the children forward, my children and their children forward, how then can I be? And I need to be. I will not let you stop me. The power that is within me is infinite. It doesn't cease to be. So why should I not be? So let the ground shake, let it rumble, let it crack so that I might fall. For when I might fall, then I will see the sky. Even when it wanes, it is still the sky. I see the sky and know that it is time. Time is littered with color, lots of color. You cannot stop it from being. So it is not truly waning, it is changing. It is what it is. That power that I allowed you to use against me to stop me in my tracks gave me fear, gutting my dreams, but it only paused me. It left me naked with my many moments, but I'm going to take those moments as they come. Right now, they come to me through my dreams. Those dreams are my children. They lead my way, so when I dream for them, I'm dreaming for me. I cannot dream for myself alone. I am here for them. They may be my time, but they connect me to me. They're mine and they infuse me with the energy to go. Children, go where I send thee. He sends them one by one. He sends them as a dream. It's no accident that he started them all with a dream. The dance came in a dream. The storm came as a dream. From God to lay down the path, then the skies. And when I look at the ground, I found my way back. So I take back that power and use it to dismantle that fear, as it is only a template that many of you have used before, for like all tools, they do not always do what they're supposed to do. They do only part of the job. There is always a need for yet another tool. The fears that you put upon me gave me pause, but they can't stop me. Just put me off my path. Spin me around in my journey. I refuel and find another way to be. That is all I need to be doing. Living is my purpose.
Mm. Thank you. Bravo. Bravo. Thank you. Thank you, Pat. And we are so blessed that you are living truly. If anybody has any comments, any questions for any one of our panelists, now is the time to write it in the chat. Any questions? Well, if I may, I have a question for Egbert. Dear sir, you said earlier in your presentation that we were not ready to receive properly. So my question for you is, how do we get to a place where we are ready?
Look, as we call for social justice, and now that call has been amplified, we have to be in a position to take our place in society. And I say that's just a statement. It means that we have to be able to take care of ourselves, like look after our seniors, look after our vulnerable. It means that we have to be able to hire ourselves. We have to be able to give life to and the fullest of potential to our community. We've been here too long as Black people in all different states and in all different sort of environments and under different conditions. But today we see that police stop us along with indigenous people more than they stop other people. We see the police abuse, and we see our kids overrepresented in the juvenile system. We see our kids overrepresented among unemployed, underemployed, dropouts. We can't be victims all the time. I'm so tired of watching Black people being paraded in front of media because some police being rude to them or some. We gotta go beyond that thing. We gotta take responsibility. So the way that we're gonna take advantage of any offerings from government or any offerings from corporations is if we can take that money or take that resources and build in order that we can establish ourselves as a good, solid, contributing community in this dynamic society. Montreal, Quebec, Canada, this is a dynamic place. Stuff happen, we're rich and we're powerful, and we continue to be victims. So the way that we're gonna continue, we're gonna be able to be good receivers, as I call it, is that if we can receive this money and make ourselves better.
Thank you. We have a question for you, Egbert. Hold on. From Ivana. Egbert, how can we do better as white Montrealers to stop being tourists in your community?
You know, and that's a meaningful part. I mean, you are not tourists because you go beyond the colorful, you go beyond the spicy food and nice music. That's the tourist mentality. But to get to know Nigel and to get to know the complexity that is Maggie. Maggie has been in this place just doing work on the labor front. She's been doing work in terms of literature. She's been doing community work for so long. Nigel was a professor at a university in Quebec City. He's an author. He's a record. We have so many dynamic people, so many dynamic things. We have a history that's replete with excellence. People don't even know that. We keep watching just we have a community, and look, we need other Montrealers, we need our neighbors to help lead us out of that morass that we're in, that morass of, just being on the sidelines as we watch the progress parade go forward. We need other Montrealers to support us, to help us with build our institutions. So, tell the stories of what's happening in the community to other neighbors, because we can, and look, there's no way that the Black community can grow and to become its full potential by itself. No, no, no. We need every hand on board. We need friends and supporters, and we need, just by attending an event like this, we're on our way. We're on our way to build that alliance. We have to take alliances wherever we can, So that's the way forward. We go forward as part of Montreal, or showing Montreal who we are, dynamic and giving and love and, hard people.
Thank you. So we're going to give ourselves 10 more minutes to wrap up. We have 3 more questions, and we're going to stop at that one. So Dimani will have the last question. From Ariane to the panelists, what are your defense mechanisms? How do you keep on going without quitting? Oh, Pat, that one's for you, seems. There is so much resistance and hate. I know we are Black communities, resilient, but how much can one endure?
Where's Ariane? is Ariane's picture?
Ariane is not showing her face.
Okay. Oh gosh, Ariane, let's talk after. Let Maggie give you my number, or Horace give you my, or not Horace, oh my gosh, he's calling me. Nigel, give you my number. You have to know when to stop. And I stopped. And I had to look at myself and properly, and I'm still struggling to properly attribute to myself where I may have gone wrong and take some responsibility for it. You notice I'm articulating it. But because I'm in a mechanism or a world where a lot of people don't believe in introspection, nor do you have a province that is accountable. So if you're not realizing what you do, or are not accountable, or you're not made to be accountable, and there's no mechanisms for that, then it would be futile for me to continue railing and beating up myself and fighting against the powers, or the man, or whatever they're called. I don't even know what young people calls them. From there, I go back to creating. I stopped my voice. I stopped performing. Egbert knows this. I just stopped writing to a degree. And then I stopped emceeing, and I just stopped because I lost my voice. And I had it all in my head. And then you have to get out of your head. And so by creating, I started to recreate and talk and make myself a lot less vulnerable. That's the first time I've ever read that piece. And the only reason why I read it is because I wanted to read it for Nigel a couple weeks ago, and I couldn't. And then I just did it. Mm-hmm. And then you stop feeling vulnerable. Mm. But you do get tired. You have to recognize it for what it is. And everybody has their particular pathways to whatever. I mean, I see a few of you here who speak really to me. So speak real to yourself, then you have to stop listening to yourself and let it come out in the art form. Whether it's writing, whether it's painting, you should see the garbage that I'm painting. And I put on stupid makeup on my face and turn myself into characters. And, people think I've gone mad, but I was mad years ago. And you recognize that you're not crazy, and you begin to speak again. And now, heaven help you, no. It coming out like a verbal diarrhea. I think I want a column in Egbert Gay newspaper. And now we are here. CPAM, you said? That's the station? They want me on there with Maggie Metellus. Maggie speaking in French, me in Patois, and we bridge the community. Verbal diarrhea. Get it out.
Yes. Thank you, dear. So you can see Ariane's face. She put on her video just for you.
Okay, I want to look.
Just for
Emily,
you.
Just
You have
for
5
you.
seconds.
Ah, okay. Okay, but Ariane, you're going to get my number from Maggie.
Okay. Hi.
Ariane.
Hi.
Thank
Merci
you.
d'être là, ma puce. Emily, I would like to hear you.
How do I keep going?
Yeah.
Well, I think I love writing so much that, and when you write, it's yourself and Google Doc or Word. The trolls are not there. You're not seeing everything else. And when I finish a text and I send it, I feel a sense of peace and purpose because I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And no trolls can take that away from me. There's that. And I also, it took me a while to figure this out, but this is a learning that comes from a place of painful learning. But I think that you need to acknowledge that when you're going to exist in public in Quebec and French media, it's like working in a war zone. And if I was a soldier, I would undertake like really intense physical training. And so with what I do, I need to have really intense mental training. Fitness means, taking care of your mental health, just like you would go to the gym every day if it was a very extreme physical job. To be able to take the stress that it is, you need to make that time. And I'm lucky I don't have kids. I have that time, so I'm going to take it, and make it for myself. And since doing that, I think that I'm more stable. I still sometimes overbook myself for sure. But I think acknowledging that this is, something that needs some, mental health, fitness every day to be able for you to sustain that. I think it's something. And the last thing I want to mention is, and it's not to be cheesy or anything, it's really sincere. Like events like this keep me going. And I think it's been harder in 2020 because you cannot see people face to face anymore. But at the end of the day, this is who you're doing all of this with. And this is who you're dealing with the trolls with. And this is who you're doing all those, uncomfortable interviews for. And I think I receive a lot of hate, like a lot. But I also trigger like extreme love reactions as well that I never foresaw. Because it's like becoming a symbol of something that's way bigger than me as an individual. There's people from my generation that see themselves in my work, and it's a lot bigger than me. It's a lot bigger than me. And so I think, I'm receiving more hate, but I'm also receiving more love than your regular white columnist who doesn't mean anything beyond themselves and their own, writing about whatever is on their mind that day. And so it's just more, being Black is just more of an intense human experience, I guess. In both the joy and the pain. It's just everything is just more intense, right? And you need to just have days when you're grateful for the intensity of the joy and the love that we can live because we are Black as well.
Absolutely. You know what, and congratulations on the work that you do, huh? Congratulations.
Thank
It's
you.
really amazing work. And, for those of us who have ventured into mainstream journalism, that challenge of dealing with the duality, our community, making our community proud and see themselves in our work, and then dealing with the white community and the responses. That's a whole different thing. I was on at 9 o'clock in the morning in a call-in show talking politics, and they see me as a communist and a socialist because I want what is best for mothers and vulnerable communities. And, you know, you stay true to that message, just as you are, just as you're doing today. And that brings a kickback. But, you know, I celebrate seeing you, and I celebrate knowing that the job continues.
It
Just
means
gotta
so
stay
much coming
strong.
from you, Edward. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
no, I do celebrate, and all power to you.
Thank you. Thank you for those words, Edward. Thank you, Emily. One last question, so we can't go through all the questions. From Dimani for everyone, all the panelists. How do you think Black communities would react to medias that are so free that they will not comment on white BS and that qui ne partagerait pas and who would not share the opinion one size fits all Black communities? Asking for a friend.
Go, Emily.
So how do you think? Are we ready for a very, very free Black media that does not comment on anything non-Black or non-brown?
Look, the media has a responsibility to tell the truth, or whatever that perception of the truth is. The way you get to the truth in the media has to be verified 3 times. You call this one and that one and another one, and then you go with it. So your responsibility to the truth hinges on what that fact is. We go after the fact. Whether you're Black, whether you're white, if you're going to do journalism, if you're going to do media, verify it. Emily has to defend herself as a columnist, making sure that she gets it right. She cannot get it wrong. If she gets it wrong, she's in trouble, because she's already in trouble being Black. So if she was to get it wrong, oh my God. So it's the same thing. So any media outlet, any attempts we make to be, you know, to stand on that pedestal of truth and accountability, we have to be good, especially now with social media. Everybody's a journalist. Everybody knows this. The way we get beyond that is to be real good. And that's the only obligation we have, to be better than the rest.
Edward, sorry, just quickly, you just made me think of something I think I want to share with you guys. Last year, I received a complaint to Le Conseil de Presse, which is a body that surveils basically journalists, make sure they're factual. I wrote a piece about Bill 101, and I was accused basically of inciting hate against Quebecers and celebrating violence because I mentioned the Mohawk warriors crisis, like the Oka crisis, something like that. And now I have a complaint again because I wrote about the police, and then there's the police unions who are basically saying that I'm also saying that the police is killing citizens and that I'm unfair to the police. And I check in the archive, the only other columnist in the Devoir that had received a complaint to the Conseil de Presse since 27 was Fabrice Ville when he was there. So literally
another Black person,
because it's so hard to complain against people who do opinion journalism because we don't have the burden of neutrality, right? And Carla Beauvais, which is at Le Métro, also received a complaint at Le Conseil, but also at the police directly because she wrote on the Buying Black movement, and she also was accused of racial hatred because she was encouraging people to buy Black, and that's like racial hatred. And so I just want people to just know that, like, because it goes back to Dimani's question about, you know, are people ready for free Black media? This is the kind of stuff, you know, people are using the ombudsman as if it was the police, right? Just calling the police on Black people, calling the media police on Black people that exist while we're existing in a way that's really, really measured and polite. So yes, it can happen. But I'm just saying we need to be ready. We need to have our lawyers with us. We need to have all of that heavy gear with us if we want to write certain things, because that's the reality that's out there the minute we try to do something.
My first column in the Gazette. My first column in the Gazette, I wrote something, and they sent the Monday. The column came out the Sunday. The Saturday, I think, or Sunday. The Monday, the Saint Jean Baptiste Society called me. The Monday, the guy called, he says, man, we need to talk. I said, talk about what? He says, about what you've been writing. I said, what I've been writing? I don't need to talk about it. That's it. He says, okay, let's go for lunch. It turned out that me and him turned out to be good friends after that lunch. But he was ready to challenge me from that very first column. That's the head of the Saint Jean Baptiste Society. I am advocating Black. I'm advocating on behalf of vulnerable communities. And they saw that as an affront in the Gazette. So we have to be careful. We have to be, mainstream media is not always ready for, the audiences in mainstream media is not really always ready for our voices.
Somebody was going to say something?
It's me.
Yes,
I'm
Pat.
glad.
Last word.
I'm not sure if it's the audiences that have a problem. I believe it's some of the bastions of believed or perceived powers and gatekeepers that are not ready for it. I think we, and not maybe not this context, but too many times we assume that the audience are, you know, young babies and can't take it. But it really is titled people of entitlement who are not ready. They've been reading the dark web, and some of them are the people who are the trolls, and people are seeing and consuming a lot, and people also sift out what they want to see from what they don't want to see or hear. And people recognize that truth that Egbert spoke about shortly a minute ago. But it's the foundations of power that will never be ready. And it comes from something I read from Martin Luther King Jr. The moment that they have to give up some of the comfort, there will be a price to pay.
Well,
Is
yes,
it,
and on that note, yes, Nigel.
is it time for me to announce the next event?
Yes, so on that note, we're going to say thank you again to everyone. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Émilie. Thank you, Egbert. Thank you, Pierre-Emmanuel. Bravo et compliment. Thank you to all the people who wrote in the chat. I don't have time to read all of them, but since this is being recorded, we will be able to, at our leisure, read them all. Thank you very much. And now for the last word, Nigel will be announcing our next event and hope to see you all there. Stay safe, everyone. And thank you, Sam, for
Oh, yes, Sam.
just that. Yes, yes. Thank you, Sam. Samantha. Yes, Nigel.
Okay, I just want to say that our next event will be on January 25th, not February, not the second week in February. Actually, there will be something on the second week in February, but our next event will be on January 25th. I will be the moderator, and we already have 2 confirmed panelists. Maggie is working on hers. We will certainly be having Dr. Esmeralda Thornhill and Yvonne Sam, and it will be on social justice and the Black community. Hope to see all of you there, and I can't guarantee it's going to be as dynamic as tonight, but we will try. Thank you very, very, very much to everyone.
Thank you all. Thank you. Stay safe. Stay blessed.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
Emily, call me.
Bye.
Okay.
Okay, yes, I will. Okay, bye.
For sure. Great. Okay.
Wonderful.